Hey, what is up guys, Swaffy back for another video, and today we're going to be doing Vintage Cube again. So it's back on Modo, which is great. I don't know if you guys are new to this channel, but I used to do quite a lot of Vintage and Legacy Cube drafts, but obviously as they're not on Modo I couldn't keep releasing them. So I'm really happy that they're back, and I'm basically just going to record loads of them, and then I will release them over a long period of time so I can actually have them released on my channel even when it's not on Magic Online. So this is going to be the first recorded draft I've done since it came out, and this vintage one was released on Magic Online yesterday. However, there were some issues with it, and yeah, so today is going to be like my actual proper first draft with no issues, hopefully. I'm hoping I can get to play a blue deck, because blue decks are pretty fun in this format. We do open a Goblin Guide though. Goblin Guide just instantly wants me to go into red. I like Garruk. Garruk is just a really fun planeswalker in this format. There's a lot of mana rocks and things like that, so you can normally cheat him out even if you're not necessarily mainly in green. So if you get up a couple of different fixing lands and things like that, you can play Garruk in just like a black-white deck or something if you want to, because Garruk is just so powerful on his own. Killing planeswalkers is just incredible. I like Goblin Guide, Crucible, Garruk, and the Gearhulk, I think. Anything else? Ponder's fine, but we don't want to be picking that first. I think we're just going to take Goblin Guide. It's just a really good card, and it's one of the best cards in the mono red deck. So I think that's a fine pick. So next pack, I like Skull Clamp. The Signets are great. Noble Hierarch is fine. Tamiyo's okay. Sun Titan's fine. Yawgmoth's Will if we want to go into a Storm deck. Nothing here really stands out to me. I don't think this is a very strong pack, but I think we're just going to take Skull Clamp. It works okay in red decks. You can sometimes just stick on a Goblin Guide, and then if your opponent wants to kill it, then you get to draw 2 cards, especially if you're running a heavy burn version of the deck, so you can draw it into the burn spells. So we're going to just take Skull Clamp here, I think. I don't think there's a very clear pick here, so yeah, let's just take Skull Clamp. It's probably just one of the most powerful cards in that pack anyway. So if we end up in some sort of green deck with lots of tokens, it works there. It's just a very versatile card. It's very powerful red deck if we even end up in red. So next pick, I really like Karn. Karn is just incredibly powerful. If there's like an empty board and you play Karn, you normally win just because it's so difficult to answer. Other good cards, I like the Sword is fine, depending on how many creatures we get. Wasteland is obviously good. Smash to Smithereens is fantastic. Smash to Smithereens is very good in Vintage Cube, but very bad in Legacy Cube. There's a very, very clear difference in power level in different cubes, and Smash to Smithereens in Vintage is actually very powerful because so many people are playing Mana Rocks, Swords, things like that, Crucible of Worlds. I think Karn is the strongest card here, but I think we just want to go into red. We've got Goblin Guide. Smash to Smithereens is a card I'm always happy to main deck in this format. There's just, everyone has artifacts. Even the green decks will have a couple of artifacts and things like that. It's just a very powerful card. Main decking Artifact Hate is not unreasonable, and Artifact Hate that actually damages your opponent in a mono red deck is very powerful. So we've been past Freyalise is incredibly powerful, but we've also been past Cryptic Command. And Cryptic Command is a very, very good card. And we haven't been past that many good red cards, so other than the Smash, then we haven't really seen that much red, so I'm actually going to take the Cryptic here. The fact that we got past it third pick is quite surprising, especially when people want to be in blue. So yeah, we're actually going to take Cryptic Command here. So we're either looking to be in a aggro red deck or a blue control deck, and you can just play Smash to Smithereens in a blue control deck as well. It's worth saying, because Artifact Hate is just so good in this cube that Smash to Smithereens is a playable card in any deck, not just an aggro deck. And the Skull Clamp, we're not sure where that's going to go, but I'm sure we can fit it in a deck. It's just so powerful. Drawing 2 cards for 2 mana is insane, or 1 mana I guess once you've equipped it. Cards we're looking for are either like a very powerful red card to put us into red, like Koth or Chandra, or a very powerful blue card, really. And we get past an Izzet Signet, which is one of the best signets in the game, in this format at least, because blue-red is just 2 of the strongest colours. But we've also been past Channel. So if you are not familiar with Channel, it basically turns your life into mana for the turn. So you can pay 10 life, get 10 mana. It's always colourless, but you can cheat Eldrazi into play. You can cheat Karn Liberated into play. So shame we didn't take the Karn now, but yeah, Channel is definitely the strongest card here, I think. Opposition is also very good, but don't really want to be taking Opposition. I think we're fine just taking the Signet. We could just take like a Rift Bolt if we want to go back into red, but Signet is very powerful, and I'm going to just take the Signet. And now we get past Tooth and Nail. I think we probably should have been in green, because we could have taken the Noble Hierarch, Khan, Channel, and Tooth and Nail, which would have been very good. Like, Tooth and Nail is one of the premium green cards as well, so that kind of suggests, is it worth taking that? Like, there's nothing like I really want to take in this pack. Fixing is fine, but Hymn to Tourach is pretty good. But it's double black and we're not in black at all yet. And if we end up in that, we're probably going to be playing like a blue-black deck, and I don't think we're going to have the mana for it. So I'm just going to take Tooth and Nail and just speculate that maybe green is open, because if it is, then Tooth and Nail is like the exact card you want. And also the Skull Clamp and the Signet can be played in the green deck. And now we get past the Genesis Wave. We also get past a Elspeth, which works nicely with the control package, like the Signet help us ramp into it, and we've got Cryptic. And Skullclap works really well with Elspeth as well, so I think it just depends on what we want to do. Do we want to go into a green ramp deck, or do we want to play like a blue-white control-ish deck? I think we're just getting past good green cards, so I don't think it's bad to just take them. Yeah, we're just going to take the green cards because it looks like it's open. And more than happy to pick up Manadox. Manadox generally are actually more important to pick up than the Fatties, because they're much harder to replace. Like, you can ramp into a Thragtusk, and that's pretty good. It's not as powerful as ramping into like a larger, like more efficient threat, but at the same time, if you don't have the early accelerants, the Fatties are just not as powerful. So Garruk, Traverse, and Acidic Slime Wheel. So it does look like we're in the right colours. I don't know what the best pick is. I really like Garruk though, so I'm tempted to take Garruk here. If you can ramp into him on like turn 5 or something, it's just so difficult to deal with. Like, your opponent can play like Tamio around turn 5, and then you'll just play Garruk. It's just very powerful. So I think we want to take that. Traverse is okay, but we're not going to be getting Delirium in a green deck like this. So it's that or Acidic Slime, and I think we're happy just taking the Garruk here. And then either Heartbeat, Beast Within, or maybe Abrupt Decay. I don't think we want to be playing either of these. Maybe Beast Within, but I think Abrupt Decay is fine. No, we'll take Beast Within. If we need a removal spell, I'd rather just one that catches everything. And then we could take Hissing Quagmire, Polukranos, Imperial Seal maybe, but I think we just want to take the Fixing. So overall, this is actually looking pretty strong so far. Nev's Disc is fine. So is Kratos Claws. Kratos Claws is actually alright when you're ramping. I don't think either of these are a clear, obvious choice. Generally with green, you don't want to be ramping into a Port Vipe, so we'll take the Kratos Claws. And Awakening Zone is fine. And we'll take Mana Confluence for Fixing. And a Were Reaper. White Weenie is pretty much always open in cube. It's not particularly fun to play, and I don't think it's very powerful either. Unless you get like Mother of Runes and Stoneforge and things. Alright, this pack is very good. So we have Frost Titan, which is just obviously very powerful, which would be very good with the Cryptic command in like a tempo-ish deck. Thran Dynamo is good, Mox Diamond is very good, Sylvan Carrot is what our deck is looking for, and Ancient Grudge is actually very good as well. Ancient Grudge is pretty much always a 2-for-1 because there's always going to be targets for artifacts. Sorry, artifacts to target with Ancient Grudge. So being able to blow up your opponent's mana rock on turn 2, and then turn 3 or like later in the game just getting an extra value out of it is really powerful. So I think this card is significantly better than people will rate it. But I don't think it's what we're looking for in our deck, so I'm tempted to take the Thran Dynamo or the Sylvan Carotid. I think we want to take the Carotid because it ramps, but it also fixes, and it's the early ramp that we want more than the late ramp, because this helps us get into like Gideon and Xenagos, and sorry, not Gideon, Garrux and Xenagos nice and early, which is I think a lot more important. We could take the Mox Diamond, but generally we want to be playing our lands anyway, so I'd rather just pay the 2 mana for a Mana Dork than discard a land. This pack is pretty weak for us. We could just take the Fixing with the Windswept Teeth. Oath of Druids is not what we're looking to do. They've added the new Gideon to this cube, which is cool. We could take the Trinket Mage and try and go use that for Skull Clamp. Overall, this pack is just very weak for us. I think we just want to take the Trinket Mage here. Yeah, we take the Trinket Mage because it being able to get Skullclamp is so powerful. Wow, we've been past Dack Fayden. If you are not aware, Dack Fayden is one of the top picks in Vintage Cube. It has loads of targets to steal. Like, if you just play Dack Fayden and take their artifact, that's like a card in itself, like completely worth playing. Like, you've taken their artifact, you've now got that artifact, so it's like almost like a 2-for-1 there, and you still have a Planeswalker left over. It's incredibly powerful. Almost makes me want to just take that and see where that goes, because the green's dried up really quickly. Yeah, we're gonna take Dack Fayden here. Dack Fayden is just so powerful. Blightsteel Colossus. Alright, I don't really know what colours we're in, so I'm just gonna put all the colours together and try and work it out from there. Cryptic in blue. Anything else? I guess Goblin Guide in red. I'll keep that on the board. And Beast Within there. Alright, so this pack I like Blightsteel Colossus. We haven't seen Tinker go around yet, so maybe Tinker's in here, something like that. It's also just a good card if we end up in the green deck, so it kind of works in both the blue version where we, if we can try and get like a Tinker or something, but it also works in the green deck where you can just like Tooth and Elf and things like that. So I think that's the pick. It works in both decks, so happy to pick that up. Show and Tell is perfect for the Blightsteel, and Ojutai works nicely if we play like a blue-red-white deck. Generally, I'm not really impressed by Show and Tell in Cube, just because you play Show and Tell. Well, the thing is, at the end of the end of packs, there is normally a fatty left over. Like, even if it's just like an Angel of Sanctions, someone's just probably going to end up with that in the sideboard, because no one really wants to play that in the main deck. It's just not powerful enough for this format, I don't think. But when you're against a Show and Tell deck, you just board it in, and when they play Show and Tell, you put that in, and then you take their best threat. All you've done then is spend 2 cards and 3 mana to give your opponent an Angel of Sanctions. And sure, it's great if you can kill it, but if you don't, then it's just awful. So we're going to take the Ojutai here. Manglehorn's in this as well, which is cool. I don't mind the Zealous Conscripts here if we want to go into like a Jeskai deck. The Arid Mesa is fine. We're definitely not in Storm. Zealous Conscripts might be sweet with the Skullclamp as well if we can kill our opponent's things off. But I think we just have to take the Arid Mesa here just for fixing though. Zealous Conscripts is so powerful though. Alright, we'll take the Conscripts and try and prioritize fixing from now on though. Okay. So I really like the Colonnade here, but I also really like the Gilded Lotus. I think we value fixing more than ramp, especially a Gilded Lotus, because it's just so late. Paying 5 mana to ramp you at that point, like, what are we ramping into if we're in this deck? And I think this is what we want to be. We'll keep the green there just in case something draws us into green, but I'm pretty sure we're just going to end up in this blue-white-red deck. And Ugin is perfect. If we're like trying to play a control deck, Ugin can just pretty much clean up whatever you've missed. So like if somehow your opponent resolves a threat like Thrun, then you can just use Ugin to get rid of it, whereas generally a Thrun is pretty hard to deal with for us. So yeah, we're going to just take Ugin here. Frost Titan is perfect, so I'm going to assume blue is open, because Frost Titan is like a premium blue card and it's wheeled. Other good cards are Ancient Grudge, Mox Diamond, probably not High Tide, but yeah, we're going to take Frost Titan. Fire and Ice is fine. It's like that or the Looter, but I think we want Fire and Ice more. So it can deal 2 damage divided how you want, or it can tap a permanent and draw a card. So at worst, it's a 2 mana draw a card. So I'm going to put it in the blue section for that. Out of these, I don't mind Wheel of Fortune. It's not really what we're looking to do, but you can play it. If we're like a very aggressive blue-red deck, then you can do that. I think it's more likely we want that than a Siege Gang Commander, so we'll take the Wheel of Fortune and stick it in the board. Hallowed Fountain is perfect. And guess we take Abbott if we go in like some sort of aggressive version of red. So we'll stick that on the board for now though. And sure, we'll take the Gorger. Copperline Gorge is fine. Overall, I think we're pushing it for playables pretty badly. But, oh, Time Walk, sorted. Well, that's pretty good. We are looking for playables pretty badly, but we can. There's a bunch of cards in our board we can play, so we're just going to take Time Walk here, obviously. And we'll go by Convert Mana Cost now. We need to pick up, like, what, 10 cards in this pack? Out of 14 left? Which is doable. We don't really want the Gorge on our deck. We can play the Abbott if we need to. Wheel of Fortune we can play. Smash the Smithereens I'm happy to play as well. And wow, so we got Mox Emerald and Mana Vault and Sword of Body and Mind and Everflowing Chalice and Polluted Delta. This pack is insane. Obviously Prime Time is insane, but we're not in green. So it's worth noting that the Mox, Everflowing Chalice and Mana Vault all can be got with our Trinket Mage, which is obviously very powerful. I think we value the Mox Emerald the most. I think it's clear between that and Mana Vault though. I think both of them are absolutely fine picks. I think we want the Mox though. Yeah, we're going to take the Mox here. So we've got Jace, Koth, or Preordain, really. All of them are great pickups. I really like Koth. Koth is just a really good clock to put on your opponent. And being able to, like, if you play a lot of mountains, you can sometimes just go like Koth into another card, which is really powerful. Because you use this minus to make red mana equal to the amount of mountains you control. So if you have like 3 mountains, you can go Koth minus into a burn spell to kill their creature or something, which is very good. I think we want to take Jace though. It's pretty close. We're probably more blue based than red, so I think it just works nicer on our mana to play Jace over Koth. Because we have the triple blue for Cryptic Command. Vidalcan Shackles is incredible. If you've ever played against this card in Cube, then you'll know this card is just dumb. Like, they just take your best guy and it's just horrible to play against. And if we're going to be heavy blue based, then that is great. Needle Spires is good if we want to play the Ojutai. Anything else? Like, Chandra's fine. I think we want the Shackles though. Shackles is just so powerful. Shackles is considerably weaker in Vintage Cube than the Legacy though, because in Vintage people are doing more powerful things. Like Storm, it doesn't do anything against. Control decks, it doesn't do that much against a lot of the time. So maybe Chandra is better. I think I prefer taking the Shackles here though, just because it puts us into more blue, which is I think the direction that we want to be going. I really like the Sulfuric Vortex if we want to go like an aggressive version, but it doesn't look like we've got that, so I think we're just going to take the Steam Vents here. As I mentioned earlier, we are really pressing for playables in our deck, but the fixing is very important, so. And we're still hoping to get a Tinker for this Blightsteel. I think the best cards that we could come across now are pretty much just any control element. Cards like Counterspell, Remand, things like that. I really like the Ancient Tomb here, but I don't know if we have enough playables to take that. Like, that's probably going to be a land, or counted as a land. So we only have 17 playables. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like Ancient Tomb or Batterskull or Cohesive Portal. I'm not even sure if Ancient Tomb is that good in our deck. We need so much blue and red. So I think it's between Cohesive Portal and Batterskull. We'll take the Portal. Card draw's fun. And yeah, should be sweet. So we've got the sword. We don't have enough creatures for the Smuggler's Copter, and I don't really want to be playing Fire Blast. Balance, again, we probably don't want to be playing that, so it's either Verdict or the Sword. We have 6 creatures so far. How many of those are actually, like, good with this? Trinket Mages, 1 or less, okay. I don't mind taking the Verdict, but it is double white. We'll take the Sword and hopefully pick up some more creatures. I don't really want to be taking the other card there, so we can take Magus of the Moon if we want to try and get rid of people's land. Especially if we play a lot of islands, then it shouldn't worry us too much. It's that or the Sacred Foundry. Magus of the Moon does just sometimes win the game on the spot. Is there another creature to put Sword of Feast and Famine on? I think we're going to take the Fixing though. Yeah, we're going to take the Fixing. And I don't hate playing Pithing Needle. Pithing Needle is just a good card in this format. Hits all their Planeswalkers and things. Don't think we have any reason to play Tiger. Not really. Yeah, we'll just say Pithing Needle's fine. Sword of Body and Mind is great. Tactics Probe is actually very nice as well. But yeah, we're happy to pick up Sword. And now we're just going to take creatures really. Wow, Koth Wield. So it's Koth or the Legionnaire. I think Koth is significantly more powerful, but don't know if we have the mana to support it. We have... yeah, it's not looking great. Alright, we're taking the Koth then. Oh, sweet, Needlespire's Wield, which means that helps us play the Koth. Happy to pick up Vortex. If we end up in the more aggressive version, which it looks like we're actually fairly aggressive, we'll take the Pridemage here. And a Miracle Crusader, sure. I don't think we want to be the Vortex. Let's go sort by convert mana cost and separate. We'll get rid of the lands for now. So we have the option of like adding Goblin Guide, the Gorger. Let's just add these in and see what it looks like. Yeah, so we can try and go like the aggressive route with the... just play more creatures with the swords and try and kill our opponent and play Sulfuric Vortex. And then we can... oh, well, we're not playing the Blightsteel anyway. So this is 24 cards. So we probably just want to cut like... Our deck is a bit all over the place. I almost want to just cut the Vidalcan Shackles and play this pile. The Skull Clamp doesn't really do too much in our deck. We can just stick it on our threats and hope they stick. Like Zealous Conscripts is just a fine card on its own. You don't need the combo for that to be good. And this is more of a 2-drop. Alright, we're just going to play like an aggressive version. So we've got the 1-drops. And then we can use like Wheel of Fortune to fuel back up, and then we've got some late end with Ugin. This is not really ideal, but this is what we've got, so this is what we're going to play with. 1 cut to make. How many white sources do we have for Ojutai? Ojutai is probably just good enough to play. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, Ojutai is fine with 4 sources. I think we're just going to cut the Gorger then. 6 creatures with 2 swords feels really bad though. And a Skull Clamp. Maybe we just have to play it. We'll cut Fire and Ice then. Yep, this seems fine. So add the Steam Vents, Sacred Foundry, Needlespires, Hallowed Fountain, and the Colonnade. We're not going to play the Mana Confluence here, so let's combine the groups and sort by colour. sort out the lands. And Vodalkan Shackles is a blue card, effectively, and yeah, that looks fine. We could have done with a couple more creatures, but so that we could play like a more low to the ground version, but we'll play this. And so 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 red sources, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 blue, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 white. Yeah, that seems fine. We'll play that. Save the deck, and I will see you guys in round 1. Peace.